I believe. So let me play the clip. I do apologize. Let me play the clip.
I know you want children. So if it just don't happen, is that a deal breaker?
And today, you know, you can get a surrogate.
Nope. Carrying my child. I would adopt, if anything.
Whew, that was a bit of a heavy one. She gave Fritz the kumbaya right there. I want to know your thoughts on this because she was a little bit more heavier with Fritz on this. It can be a very touchy subject, so I do understand that as well. So I do want to give her that grace in that aspect. But how did you guys see it with, and ladies, how did you see it with the Rose and the Fritz situation in terms of the interaction that they had? She said they were definitely not compatible. He said he wanted adoption. He was happy with surrogacy. She said she wanted adoption. She then said, obviously, she can't believe that he actually said surrogacy like it was a disease. But I want to know what your ladies and guys' thoughts are on this particular aspect. How do you see it?
All right, first, let me give a little apologies to some of the people in chat. I see why y'all said no to my thing on Deanna with Deanna giving some advice from Rose, but there's still some room with Rose where she does the great things where she falls back into a place. And that particular moment with Fritz right there, it was like, girl, chill out, because you cut that man off and you didn't let him land. You don't know where he was going with the thoughts or whatever. He might even circle back to the adoption thing, but this whole I can't have somebody else carrying my baby, but you're willing to adopt, was just really puzzling to me. And I know we went back and forth earlier in the day about it. Me, El Cid, and Seaway, we went back and forth about it, but it didn't make all sense. I've come to some conclusion a little bit of how you don't want somebody carrying your egg and this, that, because they can't get attached. But the thing is, if I am paying somebody to do this job, this is generally a job that they've been doing. I'm going to vet that person to make sure that this is a person that has been doing this for a while. They can get away. They can just detach themselves from the whole situation. So to me, it's the same thing. If I'm adopting a child, I'm getting somebody else's child that they bonded with. They already have some type of bond. Now they might have felt some type of way or whatever why they gave up the child in the first place, but there was a bond created nonetheless. It's still somebody else's child. Somebody else. I mean, well, it's totally somebody else's child. It's not even mine at this point right now. So it's like, sis, you got a baby already. So that's very unselfish for you to come at Fritz that way and deny him having his own actual DNA put into a child that way. You know what I'm saying? You know the experience of having a baby, carrying a baby, and doing all this with your own DNA. Why would you deny him that? And that, I agree with Fritz on that. That was very selfish of her. You know what I'm saying? But you are willing to adopt. It's crazy to me. That just it was another one of these setups. Is kind of like with Eddie and Angie. If you don't want the man, just say you don't want the man. Stop making up some things and reasons why you don't want to be with him. You know what I'm saying? And here we go with another trauma bond between her and Hussein on the adoption and being abandoned and stuff. Like I said in the beginning of this live, there's a lot of abandonment issues going on in the beginning. Now, do I agree with them and their stance on adoption? Yes, because they were children that was in foster care. So I can kind of get where they're going with it. But she didn't get that same energy. She allowed him to talk. And I guess it's because he already has his own child. He would sit there and say, yes, I want adoption. But imagine if Hussein didn't have his own child. I think he would have the same feelings and sentiments that Fritz had. And at the same time, is because most people are going to want their own DNA, regardless if who's carrying it. Most people are going to want their own DNA in their child, because I get a jump start on if something happens to my child. Guess who they can come to first? Me. I don't have to look for nobody to match anything with, because I'm already a match. So logically, in my head, that would make more sense. Helping other children out in the world that is less fortunate, that's fine and all great when all other possibilities have been expired. So that's where I was just like, she lost me, totally lost me on all of that.
Yeah, it was refreshing to see the gentleman very open to different ways of having a child and bringing a child into the world. I applaud Rose for being open about it, letting both of them know, hey, there may be challenges, but this is the way I wish to navigate those challenges. It just seemed very rigid thinking. And, though I can understand what she's saying, I don't agree with it necessarily. Because if this is, with Fritz, he wants to have a child of his DNA with her, or the contributing DNA of someone else. He is certainly open to that. He's like, okay, he didn't shut it down and say, oh, you can't have my kids, I can't be with you. He's like, how about this other option? But she closed the door, she slammed it, locked it, and he was like cold on the outside. She wants them to compromise, and when Fritz is asking her to compromise, it's a no. So it tells me she doesn't like this man. Because I'm sure, based on what we've seen, if Hussein had said, hey, how about surrogacy? She might have had a softer no. If it still is a no, it'll be a softer tone. But she was just like, Fritz. But I wonder if she's thinking if one of the other poly ladies is the one going to be bearing the child and she going to be helping take care of the child. I'm wondering, Rose, what is in your head? Is it the whole poly thing or what? But I saw a whole lot more about Rose, and we saw a little bit about Rose in the previews. That scares me even further. So I'm like, Rose, we, as I said before, we are seeing your thorns, and we are getting scratched. And I really don't like it. It's an inflexibility where she could still say, you know what, we could research it further. We could talk about it further. I'm not totally sold on it, but let's discuss when we get to that bridge. That's all. A gentle no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I can't say that she was being selfish. I won't go. I can't go that far to say that. The reason why I say it is because it's her body. She has to weigh in on those decisions. So I get it. I respect it. But what I didn't like, what I didn't appreciate, was how she came at Fritz, as if he was wrong for having an opinion that was different from hers. It wasn't so much that she just didn't agree. She looked at him or treated him like he was wrong. And that's the part where that I wasn't really feeling when it came to that interaction. I think Fritz provided olive branch for compromise. And I think sometimes we have to take that step back and say, okay, they tried to compromise. Even if it's not something that I'm willing to go along with, the effort was there to compromise. Um, So I understand she's going through a lot, and I can understand why it's a sensitive topic for her because she's tried many times and she's had those miscarriages, and it's a lot of weight to carry. That doesn't just go away after a certain period of time. That sticks with a person. So for her to have multiple, I can understand the sensitivity behind the subject, but I just don't think that she articulated well as far as her interaction with Fritz. I just think too much care for it. That's all.
Yeah, I think obviously Rose is the one that brought that conversation to the table. So yes, there may be sensitivities around it, and she's kind of using that as a gauge to see who she wants to be with, probably. Um, but the two guys, Hussein and Fritz, they're in two different situations. Hussein has a child already, so he's in the same situation as her in that respect. They both have children, so it would be a blended family. Whereas with Fritz, he doesn't have kids yet. So the fact that he was offering the surrogacy as another alternative, because let's be real, it is another alternative. If one person doesn't want to have any more children and they're considering adoption, surrogacy is another option. It doesn't mean you have to go with it. But I was surprised at how she got triggered by that, because it's not her body at that point. Someone else that will be carrying the child, not her. So she wouldn't have to her body wouldn't have to go through that trauma, or she wouldn't have to relive that herself. So, yeah, I think she was very heavy-handed with Fritz. I don't think she likes him. I think it was a way to exclude him from her process, and get him out of there. Probably more to do with the poly thing as well, that still keeps resonating in the women's lounge. And Fritz, I think, was kind of taken aback by her abruptness to shut that down. So what I took from that is she's expecting compromise, but not willing to compromise herself.
Yeah, I think she just doesn't like him because this is the first time we've seen her be so sharp, you know? And it was just like exploring an opportunity, and she was just super, super sharp with the way she dealt with him. So, I tend to believe either the conversation went a different way, something else that he said must have annoyed her, and maybe we didn't see that, or she just really just doesn't like him. Because for her to be so very sharp in her response and just that's it leads me to believe that there's something that's just not clicking with her and Fritz. And so she's just like, nope, I don't even want to talk it. I don't want to explore it, because it sounded like it may have been a lack of information or just an unwillingness to hear more and explore more. Because to have such an intimate conversation so early on, I thought was really nice, and I was just surprised how close she got about it towards the end. So, little concerning. And I don't know if that was in the previews or with her date with Hussein, but did she also say she got a dude, an ex in prison somewhere? Cuz that
Father of
hit
her
me
Yeah,
child.
too.
yeah, father and child.
Woo. I'm like, yeah, no. I need to stay right here in Jersey. I am not I can't get somebody else to do it. I'm sorry, Rose. I can't do it. I'm sorry. You got somebody doing a bid coming home? I'm gonna have to bid you adieu. I gotta draw a line somewhere. And somebody coming out with a charge that's been in for a minute, I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover.